All right, here we go. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome everyone to the Wednesday Sports Center show with Loro and Matt. And today we have a lot to talk about. NFL draft next week. We'll talk about if there's for sure locks in the top three, about if any team is content with a specific player. The Dodgers having a great week last week and splitting the two games with the Mariners. They have a big game this upcoming week against the San Diego Padres. And then the Lakers, however, they split with Utah, but they have a test with Dallas. But the question is, when will LeBron James and Anthony Davis come back? And then the Kings had a big win yesterday against the Anaheim Ducks. So, Matt, how's it going?
Going good. How are you?
Going well, Matt. So let's talk about first the Dodgers week last week. So they swept Colorado. They took 2 out of 3 from the San Diego Padres in San Diego, and then they split the 2 games in Seattle. And then today they're off. And then the Dodgers, however, have a 4-game series with the San Diego Padres beginning tomorrow. Get your popcorn ready for that, as the Padres will be visiting the Dodgers in Los Angeles this weekend.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. The Dodgers took 2 out of 3, right? The first one?
Yeah, in San Diego. But the Padres this past Sunday just were desperate for a win.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens here. Yeah, the Padres, I think it's a good budding rivalry, and the Padres will need to start winning some of these games head-to-head against the Dodgers and winning some series to really put the division up for grabs.
It probably will be, but I think the Dodgers, by watching that series last week, the Padres are still the Dodgers, are still the better team than San Diego is.
Yeah, I agree.
But what did you think of Friday's game? It was extra innings. Corey Seager hit a big home run in the 13th or 14th inning.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, great ending to that game for sure.
And then they split with the Mariners, but however, the highlight of that series was Julio Urias pitched 7 innings with 11 strikeouts.
Yeah, he's legit. He's a legit starter.
I kind of viewed him as either as a starter or a closer, just because if Kenley Jansen were to retire, then I would choose Julio Urias to be the closer.
Yeah, it could be a good idea.
It's because Urias has closers type stuff, and I felt like that when he closed out Game 6 of the World Series for the Dodgers, that's a perfect role for him.
Yeah.
That way the Dodgers could use another 4th starter in the rotation, like Gonsolin. If Caleb Ferguson's healthy, I would put him in there, because Ferguson has experience starting games, but Ferguson's has Tommy John surgery. And then, but other than that, I think the Dodgers are in good hands right now.
They sure are, yeah.
You think they will sweep the Padres in 4?
Not in a 4-game series, no. I say it'll be 2-2. I think they'll split the series.
I could see that. That way it would be more competitive than a sweep.
Yeah.
It's not. If they split, I won't be mad, just because both teams are just really, really good.
Yeah.
And the Padres, however, are playing the Brewers today, so it's a game to keep an eye out on. So, with that being said, the Detroit Tigers right now, even though they're 6-10, they're playing the Pittsburgh Pirates right now in a 7-inning doubleheader. So, how does the team look? And is Akil Baddoo a Rookie of the Year candidate?
Yeah, he's had a great start to his baseball career, doing really good. And yeah, they started off. They had a good stretch. They swept the Astros. So they, they're not going to have a winning record this year, I don't think, but they could be a lot more competitive than what people thought.
Yeah, the Tigers look competitive. They look good. But when I thought when I saw the highlights of the Astros Tigers series, they won that series and swept that series and dedicated it to AJ Hinch.
Yeah.
And I knew why he would go into Houston and beat him, because he kind of knows their game. He knows the Astros game plan still.
Yep.
And he was taking the Astros perspective into Detroit so that when he would play against Houston, then he would know what to do.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was a homecoming he would have wanted.
Yep.
So I do think the Tigers, even though they're 6-10 right now, I still think they're going to be competitive. They're a team that's you and I thought that they were going to be one of the worst teams in baseball this year.
Right.
But I don't think that's going to be the case, because I think the American League Central is going to be very, very tough.
I think so too.
Since you got Minnesota 6-10, but I wonder who's going to be the last place team in that division. I don't think Minnesota is going to exist in that place for that long.
No, they got a lot of COVID problems right now. So
yeah, it's none of them is their fault. So I think whenever they get those guys healthy, I think Minnesota will rise back up. I think Kansas City, to me, has been a big surprise. If we talk about early surprises, Kansas City, if they continue to play like that, I think they could really challenge Chicago and Cleveland.
Yeah, I agree so too.
Who's your biggest surprise so far in the first couple weeks of the season? Is it Kansas City or is it the Angels?
Well, I'll say this about the Angels. I had them winning the division. So did you, and they look good. They're 9-6. They're playing Texas this afternoon. I think that the A's got off to a horrific start. But they're back on track, and then you have the Mariners at 11-7. So that division is completely topsy-turvy right now. The Astros started off with a 3-game sweep, right, and have just been bad since. I think the Angels are going to be pretty good. The Athletics, incredible though. They're on a 10-game winning streak right now.
Oh my gosh! I was saying this about the A's. Since they started out winless to begin the season, I knew that they're going to get hot again at some point.
Yeah.
Because they're that good of a team. They're very talented. They have an underrated roster that most people don't really appreciate. The Oakland A's roster.
I think the bigger surprise is actually the Yankees at the bottom of their division.
Jeez, I'm surprised about that too. I had them winning the American League East, but my other big surprise is the Boston Red Sox, 12-6. They're in first place in the American League East. I didn't even think the Red Sox would be in first place because they're just not there yet. But Alex Cora has a message.
Yep. I mean, it's still April 21st. So, a lot of this stuff it's going to be pretty wild, But yeah, just the A's, I think, winning 10 in a row, that's a pretty big surprise after how they started. The Yankees in last place, big surprise. I think that let's see, another team. Yeah, I think everyone else is kind of just the start of the season. They're floating around 500, a little bit on the north side or the south side of that.
My take on this is that I think even though Baltimore is 8-9, I think the Yankees will end up being better than them.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think Toronto's going to be better than the Orioles. I think the Yankees and the Rays and the Red Sox will be fighting for first place when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Just because I think with Alex Cora back, I really think that the Red Sox are going to be back to being a competitive baseball team. But I kind of watch some of Red Sox games just because of Kike Hernandez and Alex Verdugo. Yep. They look pretty good on the Red Sox. Another big disappointment I'm going to throw out there is the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, they're at the bottom of their division too.
7-9. They're too good to be 7-9, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, is the pitching there? Is the offense is there for the Cubbies? But sometimes, other than outside of Hendricks and Arrieta, I think the Cubs rotation's kind of okay, but they're not really that good.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the Brewers, the Reds, they picked up where they left off last year.
I agree. Yep, they've done pretty well.
And then the Brewers, you have them winning the Central, right? They are 10-7, and it's probably because you got Christian Yelich is back on track, and then their bullpen is very good. But I really think Corbin Burns is turning out to be the ace of that Milwaukee staff.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think the Cardinals are another disappointment. They're 8-9. I mean, they're still close enough, but they're 3-7 in their last 10 games. A little bit concerning.
It is concerning, but I do think the Cardinals are going to not give up. I think I still have the Cardinals winning the division just because of the talent that they have with Arenado and Goldschmidt, and they got Flaherty and Wainwright in the rotation, and then you got Jordan Hicks back as the closer. So I think that the Cardinals are going to hang in there, but I think the Cubs will be better than 7-9. I think the Pirates are going to end up being in last place and exist. And then my other big disappointment is the Atlanta Braves. They kind of started out very slow, and a lot of people are thinking, have they taken a step back? I'm like, I don't think they have. I think it's because probably injuries have really got to them.
Yeah, they're sitting kind of. Well, I mean it's a tough division to be in. So, they're needing to improve a little bit though still.
But surprisingly, the Phillies 8-9, them and the Mets are fighting for first place, and I didn't even think Philadelphia would be that good. But I knew why Philadelphia was a surprise, was because their bullpen has gotten a lot better this year. But aside from that powerhouse lineup that they have from Harper and McCutchen and Hoskins.
Yep.
And then the Mets, however, are once they get Syndergaard back, I think they'll be better than 7-5.
Yeah, they're still in their division right now, though.
Yeah, they are leading their division right now. And then in the National League West, the Rockies, that's no surprise they're in last place.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because they lost Arenado, I don't think they're going to exist. I don't think they're going to be that good throughout the season.
No.
So, with that being said, so you think the Dodgers will split with the Padres, and then in their next homestand, they're going to take on the Reds. And the Dodgers always, and the Dodgers have the Reds number.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you think the Dodgers will sweep the Reds?
Yeah, I think they'll take 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I mean, the Reds are good. I mean, you got Castillo in the rotation with Sonny Gray. Then you got a good lineup with Votto, and Votto's still good, but I think their best player right now, I think Joey Votto's passed the torch to Eugenio Suarez.
Because
I think the Reds are starting to be good again, but a lot of people are questioning if David Bell's the right man to be the job for the Reds, and I'm like, I think he is, but he just gets ejected too much.
Yeah, I think I agree.
And I know why you get ejected as a manager. You don't want to lose your players. That's why a manager wants to get their money's worth from getting ejected. Is that what you think? Why they get ejected all the time?
Yeah, I think so.
I wouldn't want a player to risk losing their spot or getting ejected just because they're playing in a game. I want the manager to do it more often, just so that they get their money's worth. And that it's because my question for you is, has the umpiring been bad for in the Dodgers-Padres series? There have been so many bad calls behind the plate, especially with Tom Hallion's wide strike zone. Then Phil Cuzzi called strikes that were not really in the zone when the computer had it a ball. So they missed a lot of calls.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that.
Did you think that Dave Roberts should have just gone out there and argued?
He probably should have, but it's all right. He can do what he wants with that. I think the players are behind him regardless.
Yeah, he does that because he doesn't want to lose any. He doesn't want to lose like guys like Muncy or Turner in the lineup if the manager ejects him. That's why I think managers should get ejected more often, just so that you don't lose your players.
Yeah,
and it'll fire up the team in the end.
Yeah.
So I think that the umpiring has been kind of bad these last few games for the Dodgers, but I think that the electronic strike zones are helpful. But the thing is, especially with one of the calls that you saw when Phil Cuzzy rung up Chris Taylor in one of those games, I didn't agree with that call.
Yeah.
It should have been a ball, then a strike. And I'm like, that's too generous of an outside corner there.
Yeah, I agree.
Because when the umpire's behind the plate, they sometimes can be too generous at the plate or with their zones.
Yeah, for sure.
Because some umpires have narrow zones, some of them have very big and wide zones. That's not really consistent. Like Angel Hernandez has a strike zone that's all over the place.
Yeah, no, he's notorious for that.
Have you seen Tigers games with Angel Hernandez?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially when Kinsler. Remember when Ian Kinsler yelled at him?
Yeah, I remember that.
And then the umpires, and then in the broadcast, someone was saying, "Why are you looking at me?" Ian Kinsler was not really happy with Angel Hernandez.
No.
I just think Angel Hernandez needs to retire.
Okay.
That's what I think. So football. So with that being said, the Dodgers have Walker Buehler tomorrow against Ryan Weathers, and Kershaw goes Friday against Yu Darvish. Blake Snell will go up against Trevor Bauer on Saturday, and then on Sunday, Joe Musgrove and Dustin May. Who do you think the Dodgers, if you have to choose, which game do you think they will win, and which game will they lose to if it's the split? Since the Dodgers are not going to be facing their top four Padres starters.
Say it again.
So they have Buehler on Thursday, Kershaw on Friday, Bauer on Saturday, and Dustin May on Sunday. And it looks like to me when they put up those guys in the rotation, that could set up a sweep, but it's probably good. I think the toughest pitching matchup is going to be Kershaw and Darvish.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one for sure.
And then Snell and Bauer.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. A lot of strikeouts.
Well, last time the Dodgers almost got to Blake Snell in San Diego.
Yeah.
But now they get to see Blake Snell at Dodger Stadium. So you know Blake Snell pretty well. He got pulled after he got pulled in the sixth inning by Kevin Cash because of the Rays using old school analytics, which to me, I felt like you should have kept him longer than 6 innings.
Yeah.
That was, I don't know why. Well, I don't know what Kevin Cash was even thinking there.
Yeah.
Did you think you would have left him in for at least the 7th inning?
Yeah, I probably.
But he only pitched 5 innings his last time, so he got a no decision last time, but he still struck out more than 10 batters. But I think what the key with Blake Snell is, he's got to keep that pitch count under control in the first 2 innings. That's the key to Blake Snell going deeper into a game. But do you think the Dodgers will lose Friday or Saturday when it comes to a series split?
I think they'll lose on Saturday.
Yeah, and then Thursday, I think they'll win. I think Friday, I think they'll probably beat Darvish maybe, and then Saturday might be a toss-up. And then Sunday, that probably could be a toss-up too, just because Joe Musgrove threw no-hitter, and he is really, really good. But the Dodgers have had history wearing him out with Jock Peterson hitting home runs off of him. But we'll just have to see on Sunday night.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and then we don't know. And then Urias' next start is going to be with sometime in the Reds series. So, with that being said, now on to football. But before we talk about football, yesterday, this news was way bigger than sports, is that former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was found guilty on all 3 charges in the killing of George Floyd. And a lot of people in the sports world were reacting to this, and we thought that we would see NBA games being postponed if Derek Chauvin was found not guilty. But the judges found him guilty for this, and now sports can resume. and now we have justice for Mr. Floyd.
Yeah. That's obviously, that was a big story yesterday. And I feel that from what I read about the trial, I thought the verdict was the right one, that he should have been found guilty on all three. And I hope that the family of George Floyd gets some peace. After this, they said that his brother, the brother of George Floyd, said for the first time in a long time, the family felt like they could exhale and breathe again. And even though George Floyd obviously can't, their brother can't breathe anymore. It was very sad to hear them talk about that. And, I think you also need to realize that this is one step. This is one bit of accountability that has to kind of build into a larger reform and improvement in a lot of areas of our society, and I think we can do it. So I'm hopeful, and I hope that we can get some things done with legislation, to help improve things, with businesses and ordinary people working together to improve things, with good dialogue, improvement of dialogue between police and the communities that they serve in. And I think we can get there, and I'm hoping that things can improve. And just a lot of thoughts and prayers for the George Floyd family, and I hope we can keep on improving society so that we become a lot more just society.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from what happened last year with the George Floyd incident in front of that liquor store that he got arrested by, because I also saw the. Have you seen the body cam video footage of how George Floyd got arrested? Because what I saw was that he put a fake $20 bill in front of the cashiers, and that's why the cashiers had to call the police on him.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
And then George Floyd, I saw in the video, he couldn't even cooperate with the police. And that's how Derek Chauvin was kneeling him for 10 minutes on his neck.
Yeah. Just, I don't know how that happens. And
there was a couple of other officers too that were also in that incident. Officer Chow, the Asian, he was an Asian dude that was telling people to back off.
Yeah, their trial is going to be in August. The other police officers, the other three that were there, they're going to be tried in August. So
hopefully,
it's a terrible situation. To have situations escalate like that, there has to be a de-escalation, right? You have to remain in control of the situation without killing someone. And it just seems like every day or a couple times a week, someone's being killed out there, and it's not necessary.
It's not necessary because last year not only George Floyd got killed by police, Breonna Taylor was also shot by a police officer too. Ahmaud Arbery was also shot. We also pray that their families are at peace because of that. And also the Jacob Blake shooting was spread headlines last year.
Yeah.
And then recently, Dante Smith also got shot in the back in that Minnesota concert. It was a suburb of Minneapolis. So Minnesota has suffered 2 losses of Black people.
Yeah.
So we'll have to keep an eye on the next trial for the 2 other police officers that were killed. I was talking about Officer Chow, who's the Asian dude that told the people to back off after they were yelling at him.
Yeah.
So Derek Chauvin was not the only officer that killed Floyd. There was 2 other officers too that also are going to get charged. And with Derek Chauvin, he's going to be sentenced in the next couple of months. And you know what I hope? I hope he actually is in jail for life.
Yeah, me too.
Which I think he should be, and he deserves to be in jail for life, and hopefully he gets a death penalty in the sentencing.
Yeah.
Give him the death penalty.
Yep, I agree.
That's what I think. So now that being said, we got breaking news to talk about. Is that in the NBA side tomorrow, which we'll talk more about on the NBA segment, is that Anthony Davis is going to be back tomorrow when the Lakers take on the Dallas Mavericks. He's good to go, and he does expect to play after missing months with a calf injury. So the Lakers are getting much-needed reinforcements now at the right time.
Yeah, they're going to need him. They're in a pretty big fight here, jockeying for playoff position. They're currently the 5th team. So, and they, if they slip further, they could end up being in one of those play-in games, right? So you don't want to do that.
Oh, you don't want to do that. You got to get once the Lakers get LeBron back, I think the Lakers will end up being the 3 seed when it's all said. Don't you think, when they get LeBron back?
How many games do they have left in the season?
They still have next week, and then they have pretty much until mid-May before the play-in tournament. So they still have plenty of time.
Yeah, it'll be a tough one, I think. They're 8 games back from Utah, 5 from the Clippers in 3rd place. But there's other teams are getting injuries now too, like the Nuggets, right? They lost somebody.
They lost Jamal Murray for the season.
Yeah. So that's a huge blow. That's huge.
That is huge for the Nuggets. I mean, if you lose Murray, I was kind of like, as long as you have Jokic healthy, then I think the Nuggets will still be very good.
Yeah.
But you think Murray is just a bigger blow to the Nuggets?
Yeah, that's a huge blow.
Very huge. You're absolutely right. I think with a healthy Jamal Murray, I think Denver would be challenging the Lakers or the Clippers in the Western Conference. And then the Jazz, I think they're still very good. They had some glitches with injuries with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. And they split with the Lakers. We'll talk about that in a minute. But also, my thoughts is that I think getting Anthony Davis back right now, I think it has to feel very, very good.
Yep.
I just feel like the Lakers kind of played 50-50 basketball without him.
Right.
And also, when LeBron got hurt, the Lakers were kind of iffy too without those 2 guys.
Right.
Until they had some help with Andre Drummond, and I thought Drummond has really kind of helped the Lakers in some way. What do you see in Andre Drummond so far? Have you seen that he's helping the Lakers in some way?
Well, yeah, I think it's tough to say because they just need LeBron and AD back. That just until that happens, we don't even know how a guy like Drummond can even help the team. So we'll see what he can do once they get their 2 guys back.
Yeah, but Anthony Davis is coming back first, and then the next thing is, when is LeBron coming back?
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess LeBron James probably should be back in either maybe next week or maybe in early May. Because I really think LeBron James is going to come back onto the court fresh, and I think he's going to be determined to lead the Lakers to another championship. So whenever they get those guys back, are you expecting another title run for the Lakers?
I think that we'll have to see what happens with their chemistry once they return and how good they're if they're fully back, if both of them are fully ready to be back, AD and LeBron. But yeah, I expect them, if they're healthy, they will compete for a championship. They will be up there at the end. I mean, we'll see who they play in the first round. It could be the Clippers. It could be Denver. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, if they're healthy, they'll compete for a championship.
Absolutely. And then in NFL news right now, I want to get your reaction is that Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni said they're going to have a quarterback competition, and he is not ready to name Jalen Hurts as starting quarterback. My thoughts on this is you should name him your starting quarterback, not get him through a competition. You drafted Jalen Hurts for a reason.
Yeah, kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if if that's the right move for him to do or not. I think he probably should have just named him, but we'll see.
I do expect Jalen Hurts to be the Eagles' full-time starter. I think he's going to be better than what people think. Because what I saw in Carson Wentz, when Frank Reich was with Philadelphia, Carson Wentz was elite. And when Carson Wentz had a different offensive coordinator, that he started to go downhill.
Yeah.
But do you think Carson Wentz is going to thrive in Indianapolis?
I think he's going to. I think he's going to be a lot. He'll have a lot better time there than he did in Philly. That's for sure.
Absolutely. He got Frank Reich, quarterback guru, calling plays for Carson Wentz. I think that's going to really help Carson Wentz save his career in Indianapolis. This could be another Ryan Tannehill project that we saw 2 years ago.
Yep.
That's what I'm kind of thinking with Carson Wentz now in Indianapolis. He could be that next Ryan Tannehill coming from the Dolphins to joining. It was kind of like that Ryan Tannehill situation.
Yeah.
So I just think that you should have named Jalen Hurts the starting quarterback for the Eagles. But I think the Eagles, to me, I still think the Eagles might be good, but I don't know what to say right now. Are the Eagles that good? Are the Eagles going to be a contender in the NFC East, or you think that it's too late?
I think it's too late. I think that it'll come down to Dallas, and I even think that that Washington football team and the Giants are ahead of them. So
that's a wide open division. You never know.
Yep.
That used to be one of the best divisions in football, but now that division's kind of topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
And also, other news to talk about, the NFL schedule. The 2021 NFL season schedule is going to be released and on May 12th. So on that week, we'll break down whenever the schedule is released. We'll talk about the Patriots schedule. We'll talk about the Rams and Chargers schedule and who has the harder schedule. But looking at the opponents for the LA Rams, which I'm going to look at right now on my phone. So each team has 17 regular season games. So the Rams at home, they have the Cardinals, 49ers, Seahawks, obviously, of course. And then they have the Chicago Bears at home, along with your Detroit Lions. So Jared Goff is going to be playing against his whole team then. He's going to want to get some revenge on the Rams for sure. And then the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence will be coming to Los Angeles, along with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Tennessee Titans. Out of that home schedule, who do you think is going to give the Rams their run for their money?
I think that it's going to be I think in terms of who's going to beat them at home.
Yeah, like they got their home schedule looks pretty easy, but I think Tampa Bay is going to be a challenge.
Oh, yeah, that'll be a challenge. I mean, their divisional rivals will be a challenge. So I think there's definitely those teams are going to give them probably the biggest challenge, I would say.
Yeah, I think either Seattle or San Fran, if San Fran's healthy. So we'll talk about the Niners with the draft in just a minute. So on the road, the Rams got the Cardinals, the 49ers, the Seahawks, of course, and then for their 17th regular season game. So as the 17-game schedule happens, now they get to rotate the extra home and road game with an AFC opponent. So that extra 17th game will be with the Ravens. So the Rams will go to Baltimore. Then they'll play Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. And then they'll play, I don't know what to say right now, the Houston Texans, maybe the Deshaun Watson-less Texans and J.J. Watt-less Texans, and the Colts, and then the Vikings and the Giants. I think the toughest road game for the Rams will probably be in Baltimore and in Green Bay.
Yeah, I think so too.
And the Texans, could they even have Deshaun Watson by then? I could see that.
Yeah, we'll see. That's a tough situation for Deshaun Watson.
That's going to be a lot of questions, and this is going to be discussed until the season. Is Deshaun Watson going to hold out? Is he not happy in Houston? I mean, there are some stars that were good there, like Andre Johnson, Arian Foster. They weren't you. They didn't even. I didn't think they were even happy in Houston, just because you can't. That football team doesn't know how to go to conference championship games and Super Bowls.
Yeah.
But even though they have the talent to do so, I don't know why Deshaun Watson. I don't know why even D-Hop wanted out of there.
Yeah.
And I was glad. I applauded him for being out of there.
Yeah.
Now he has J.J. Watt with him. So basically, the game I'm looking forward to in the Rams schedule is when they get to play against J.J. Watt and the new look Cardinals. And
that'd be a fun one. Yeah.
And I wonder, and I kind of predict here the Rams' last game of the regular season should be with the San Francisco 49ers, either in LA or in SF. When it comes to Week 18, because that's going to be all divisional games. And now let's look at the Chargers opponents when it comes to their schedule. So home, they got, of course, the Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Raiders. Then you got Cleveland, Dallas, the Vikings, and, of course, my team, the New England Patriots. And then the New York Giants will be coming in as well with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then on the road, they get to play Denver, Kansas City, Las Vegas, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Houston, Philadelphia, and Washington. I think the Chargers, if you look at it, they might have somewhat of a hard schedule, but do you think that with Brandon Staley now coming in, do you think the Chargers will be an even much better team?
I think they will be, and I think they're making good improvements. I'm a season ticket holder now, and I'll be going to SoFi Stadium on Saturday to sit in my seats for the first time. So I'm looking forward to it, and I think those home games are going to be really fun. Those are some fan bases coming in with the Steelers and the Patriots and the Giants and the Cowboys. There's a lot of big fan bases coming in. It should be a lot of fun at SoFi Stadium this year.
Which game are you looking forward to attending as a season ticket holder? Are you looking forward to seeing Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs?
Yes, that'll be a great one. Yeah, I think that'll be probably my favorite to see.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes coming to playing against the Chargers. I think, speaking of the Chiefs, do you still think the Chiefs do you still think the Chiefs are still the favorites, in your opinion, to make it back to the Super Bowl after that loss to Tampa Bay last year and then when they got kind of blown out?
I think it's going to be more open. I think that with some turnover in the offseason and maybe some offensive line issues, I think it's going to be a little more difficult for them.
Now that they're without Eric Fisher and all that, do you still think the Chiefs will win the division, though?
Yeah, I have to definitely say I would expect them to win the division again. But even that, I think the Chargers and the Raiders are going to have improvements this year. They're going to be improved teams. So we'll see what happens.
And also, speaking of the Chiefs, they actually get to play Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Are you looking forward to watching Mahomes versus Rodgers play in the regular season finally?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
That's going to be fun to watch. They never get to play against each other in the regular season. I think that, too, would be fun to watch just because they're both gunslinging throwers that like to throw the deep ball, get the ball down the field, and we'll see who's the GOAT there on that end between Mahomes and Rodgers.
Yeah.
That would have been a fun Super Bowl, though, but Brady versus Mahomes was fun, too, but Brady got the better end of that game back in Tampa, Florida. But you think that Tampa – also, my other question for you, is Tampa Bay favored to repeat, too?
Yes, I think Tampa Bay is going to be a favorite, but I feel that they're going to be challenged, though, pretty good.
It's a tough NFC. I think they could be challenged by Green Bay.
Yeah, I think Green Bay and the Rams are going to be breathing down their necks.
Yeah, like the Buccaneers pretty much got almost everybody back from their Super Bowl winning team back on their roster.
Yep.
But do you think that Antonio Brown will be back with Tampa Bay as well?
Yes, I think he will.
And also, with Julian Edelman retiring, Rob Gronkowski jokingly said that he would have wanted Julian Edelman to maybe come out of retirement to join Brady and Gronk and get a reunion together down there. What do you think of that comment by Gronk?
I think that they'll be reunited down there again.
You think that probably Edelman might take a year off and then he might want to come back and play with Tom Brady again?
It's possible. Yeah, it all depends on his health. Yeah.
Yeah, he retired for a reason because of his knee injury. I think it's an end of that era in New England. So now the Patriots can just work on getting some more offensive help for Cam Newton. But my only concern is that they need that franchise quarterback and get a quarterback similar to the skill sets of Josh Allen and Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So talking about the Patriots schedule, so they got the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, and then they got Cleveland and Dallas at home as part of their extra home game they have this year, and then they get to play the Drew Breesless Saints. It's weird for me to say that because without Drew Brees in the NFL, that is so weird. And also playing against Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I can't wait for this game whenever they schedule it. I'm hoping it's a Week 4 game because it's going to be Tom Brady's homecoming to New England in a Tampa Bay uniform. And also Tennessee visits the Patriots for the first time since that wild card loss back in the 2019 playoffs. And then on the road, they get Buffalo, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Falcons, the Panthers, the Texans, the Colts, and the Chargers. So do you think the Patriots might have a tougher schedule here?
Yes. I think they're going to have a tough schedule. And we'll see what happens. But, it could be another tough season for them. But we'll see.
It might be, but I think they've improved a lot offensively with Bill Belichick spending money on Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, and then getting Cam Newton back, and then improving on the defense, getting Matt Judon. Do you think that with the moves that Bill Belichick's made, do you think that they could make that a 3-team race in the AFC East, or do you think they're ways away from doing that?
I think it's possible because the Bills could regress a little bit. You never know. And we don't know about Miami yet. So I think they could. I think there's room there. We'll have to see what happens. And they're a team, the Patriots also, they don't really start fast. They're not that type of team. So, they could make a run in November and December.
Yeah. So basically, do you still favor the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East again?
Yes, I do.
Do you think that Josh Allen is going to take another big leap in his upward progress?
I think he will, but we'll see what happens with that. Yeah.
The Bills got Emmanuel Sanders. That's going to really help with the passing game. You got Diggs. You got Cole Beasley. You got Dawson Knox. I think the Bills just need a running back, and I think they need another defensive end. But I think the Bills are going to continue to get better. They're an exciting team. But what you're saying is that you think the Bills might regress just a little bit, but not dramatically.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Yeah.
I think it might be, but I just think the Bills are just too good of a team to regress.
Yeah. We'll have to see what happens come August once we see all their preseason and all that.
Let's see what they do in the draft. So a top storyline heading into 2021 is, do you think that Tom Brady is going to make that quest for that 8th Super Bowl trophy?
Oh, he's in it. He's in the race. That's for sure. I mean, I think that the Rams are going to be better, and I would like to think the Packers could be better. So that's going to be his competition, I think.
And also, the Saints begin a new era without Drew Brees. Do you think the Saints are going to draft his successor? Do you think they go with Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston?
That's a good question. We'll see. Well, I'm not going to say anything until next week when we do our draft picks surprises.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to name their starting quarterback, but if I were to pick one on the current roster, I would pick Taysom Hill because Taysom Hill gives the Saints the best chance to win. He really stepped up without Drew Brees at the time that he was missed, but people have told me that Taysom Hill is not that good.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Taysom Hill's used on these special packages, like he's used in the Wildcat. He could take the direct snap and run for a first down. That's kind of like that's what's special about Taysom Hill.
Yep.
So, with that being said, let's go. Here's some early draft questions before we make our mock drafts next week. So, do you think that Trevor Lawrence is a lock to be the number one pick in the 2021 NFL draft to the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Say it again.
Is Trevor Lawrence a lock for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Yes. Yeah.
Is Zach Wilson a lock for the New York Jets at 2?
I'll say yes, but I'm gonna hold off on the predictions till next week.
I'm just asking because I just think for sure Trevor Lawrence is going to be playing for Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Because that's no question about that. I can't wait to see Trevor Lawrence play in Jacksonville. And then you think Justin Fields will either be will he be a Niner or will he be a Patriot?
I'll let you know next week when I get my selection out there.
All right. Well, we'll have to hold off next week. So also news to talk about is that the NFL passed a jersey number rule, meaning that that the NFL will be loosened on jersey numbers, which rules means that we could see some single-digit numbers on not only quarterbacks, but we could see some running backs wear single-digit numbers too, and wide receivers too.
Oh, okay, cool.
So they're going to be less strict on that than in years past because people in college football would wear number 1 for a wide receiver, and then the NFL didn't allow that when the rookie would come in. So,
yeah, I think that's a good idea. Like I think the logic behind all that was it's easier for the announcers or fans to see, to identify, if you saw a certain number, it had to be a certain position, right? And you could be a little bit quicker, I think, with identifying them. At least to me, that seems like a practical use of it. But now, people know players well, and I don't think any casual fan gets confused by or cares about that, so that's a good change, I think.
That is a fantastic change. So with that being said, now let's talk about some NBA. So last week, the Lakers, however, what was your thoughts on the Lakers losing to the Celtics badly? That was embarrassing.
Yeah, I think it was. I think that they're really shorthanded though, so it was expected.
So last week, starting from Thursday, they lost to the Miami Heat. Then then on Saturday, on the 10th, they lost to They beat Brooklyn. I was so impressed they would beat Brooklyn with that powerhouse team they have. But we'll have to talk about LaMarcus Aldridge in just a little bit here. And then they lost to the Knicks. I didn't get why. I mean, who would lose to the Knicks? But I don't underestimate Coach Tibbs because Coach Tibbs is a great coach.
Yep.
And then they lost to the Celtics. I don't know why. I mean, if they had LeBron and AD, they would have beaten the Celtics twice.
Yeah.
And then they split with Utah. That's expected. And then tomorrow, they take on Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, and the Dallas Mavericks. But they're only getting one of their stars back, and that's Anthony Davis. So you think the Lakers could beat the Mavericks with only Anthony Davis and Drummond?
Yeah, they can, but it'll be tough still. They really need LeBron and AD out there.
Absolutely, they do need LeBron and AD out there. So they play Dallas tomorrow, and then getting AD back, like we talked about. You think that's huge for the Lakers?
Yeah.
So another NBA question for you is the Pistons today, they're taking on Dallas before Dallas takes on the Lakers. So are the Pistons in the situation like they're going to be tanking for one of the collegiate players that you saw in the March Madness tournament, like Luka Garza?
Probably. Yeah, I think they want to get a good pick here.
They desperately need a big man.
Yeah.
Just because, in my opinion, I thought Dwayne Casey was just going to come in and make the Pistons a playoff team, but I just think this year it's just not really their year. I don't think Dwayne Casey's going to get fired because of all this.
Yeah.
It's not really his fault.
No.
I think it's more of the players not playing well. I mean, who do you think has stood out to you in this Detroit Pistons so far? Do you think Killian Hayes has been good? Have you liked Bay?
Yeah, they've all been okay, but they're a bad team though. I don't know what's going on with them. Like, I don't know where they want to go next season with a new coach or overhaul the roster again. Who knows?
It's a bad time to be a Detroit sports fan if I were you, just because you're from that area. You got the Pistons not doing good. The Tigers are playing pretty good baseball with AJ Hinch. And then what are the Lions going to do? Are they going to be tanking or something like that? That's going to be some weird questions there in Detroit sport, in the Detroit press. And then the Red Wings, they're kind of in the same position as the Pistons.
Yeah, they have a plan though with Yzerman. They're trading away a lot of players to get draft picks, and they're going to be really improving, I think, in the next 2 or 3 years.
So you just don't know what's going on with the Detroit Pistons and what direction they're going to go in with the team.
Yeah.
But they're definitely not there in competing for a championship like they did when they beat the powerhouse Lakers in the 03-04 finals, if you remember that series.
Yeah.
When Chauncey Billups was the NBA Finals MVP. You might have were so happy for the Pistons in that sense. But I just think the Pistons, in my opinion, I just think they just need draft picks. I think they're in rebuild mode at this point.
Yeah, I think they are.
They're probably going to get the number 1 pick, but I don't want to guess if they're going to get the number 1 pick, just because right now Houston has a pretty good shot at the number 1 pick. But the thing is, with the new lottery rules, you can't guarantee if Houston will have the number 1 pick or Detroit. Yeah. Minnesota is a candidate for that. Orlando could be getting the number 1 pick.
Yeah,
you just never know. But I do think they're going to get a lottery pick for sure.
Yeah.
So that being said, do you think the Lakers will have another good road trip coming up?
Yep, I think so.
What about the Clippers? Do you think the Clippers have a better? Do you think the Clippers could be? Do you think that this could be the Clippers' year to win the championship, or no?
Yeah, I think if they got to with Denver losing Jamal Murray and with the Lakers with the health issue of AD and LeBron questionable. I mean, I think they'll be good by the time the playoffs start, but you never know. But the Clippers also have a problem getting out of the first round or the second round of the playoffs. Just what they do, and that's a big, I think, hump to get over. And granted, Kawhi's done it, Ty Lue's done it, so they haven't. These aren't like the Clippers of old, but they still got to do it. And I'll tell you, the Suns are really good. And they're a great story. I would be happy to see the Suns go all the way this year. I think they'd be a great story. But
that would be a great story. NBA Cinderella story.
Yeah, and it shows. It would also really cement Chris Paul's legacy as one of the greater point guards of all time. Yeah, so I think the West is going to be fun. There's going to be a lot of good matchups there. The Jazz will be interesting. They lost somebody too, though, didn't they, recently?
They were without, in the first game with the Lakers, they were without Mitchell and Gobert, but the Lakers beat those guys without Gobert and Mitchell.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Utah is a bit of a question mark because they don't really have, they're not your typical power team out. They have the best record, but, we'll see that people have kind of been not really too high on them for whatever reason. And then out of the East, the Nets, we'll see if Harden, Durant, and Kyrie gel in the playoffs. I think there's still questions about that.
There is questions about that, but also my question for you is, how did you feel about LaMarcus Aldridge retiring?
Yeah, that was scary. He said that his heart was having palpitations and irregular heartbeat, and he said he has to put his health first, and it's unfortunate. I think that he could have contributed to that team, but can't jeopardize your health, your long-term health, just for the short term. So
absolutely, you can't. Maybe if his heart's better, he might come out of retirement.
Could be, yeah.
Because I would love to see him back out there on the floor again. I felt like that he got underappreciated a lot because he was part of that Blazers team that always would get locked out. He and Brandon Roy were part of that 1-2 punch in Portland, and then he helped Damian Lillard out with his career. But But speaking of Portland, I don't underestimate the Blazers. They're such a good team with Lillard and CJ McCollum.
Yeah.
But I just think that what you said about Phoenix being a possible Cinderella story would be quite amazing.
Yeah.
But I can't wait for the play-in game. So I can't wait for when we do our playoff bracket and talk about who's going to be playing which number one team out of the play-in tournament. And I think that play-in tournament should stay forever in the NBA.
Yeah.
Just because I think that play-in tournament will help that team. That play-in tournament will get more fans to love basketball.
Yeah.
So basically, another NBA question is: do you think the Sixers are pretty much going to lock their way to that number one seed in the Eastern Conference?
I would say it's a lock. I would say they're probably the favorites to do so. So, with Harden is going to be out again, it looks like. So, I think they're probably the favorites for it. Yeah.
As long as Embiid and Simmons are healthy.
Yeah.
So that's the only question there. So now let's talk about a little bit of hockey and then soccer, because soccer, if you know what, LA Galaxy got a big win over Intercity Miami FC. And I'll have to tell you that in just a minute how I feel about that. So the Kings, however, got a big win yesterday against the Anaheim Ducks. Staples Center hosted Kings fans for the first time in a year. But the Kings faithful found a way to win this game, and they're still alive in the playoffs.
Yep, and that's. I think that's they've had a good story this year. They've been hanging around, and that's all I think you can expect this team to do. That was the ceiling for that team, and they're doing it. So they've done really well.
They have, but the Ducks are kind of playing for a lottery pick at this point. My question for you is Dallas Eikens probably going to be fired?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, they just hired him like a year ago, so I don't know
if he's in jeopardy of losing his job.
Yeah, if they're all on board with like tanking and getting some good picks, he's probably just gonna be that type of coach where he's like Dave Blashill in Detroit. Well, he'll guide them through the rebuild, and then they'll bring in someone once they get a decent core together. So
are you saying that Dave Blashill's on the hot seat too?
Yeah, he is. They're going to be bad for another like 2 years. So I don't know who wants to come in and take it over. But if Yzerman knows that the players are not responding to Blashill, they'll fire him and get somebody else in there. And same thing with the Ducks; they're in a similar situation. If the players are still playing tough for him, they'll keep him around.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. But the Kings beat the Ducks, and the Kings are still hanging in there. They have 40 points. They're one game back of the Sharks for that 6th spot, and they're actually 4 points back of the Blues. I think the Blues are going to end up making the playoffs in that last spot.
Okay, yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
But do you think the Kings will probably fall short of that final spot in the West Division?
Yeah, I'm expecting them to.
Do you think they can get past San Jose? Because they should have beaten them many.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe.
San Jose has the Kings number.
Yeah.
And then the Blues, the Kings can beat St. Louis. But the Kings have another challenge coming up. So Friday, they take on the Minnesota Wild. That is not going to be an easy task.
Right, yeah.
Because the Wild, I've seen Minnesota play against the Kings, and Kaprizov, he's a Rookie of the Year candidate for the Calder Trophy.
Yeah.
So I think Minnesota and Colorado and the Knights are going to be your top 3 in the West in the West Division.
Yep.
So that's what I'm kind of thinking here. So the Red Wings, however, wonder if they have a game today. So you think the Red Wings are still going to continue to lose games throughout the season, or you think you would want to see some nice wins there?
So they've been improving. But yeah, I think they'll continue to be pretty bad.
They lost to the Dallas Stars on Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
And then they get to play them again on Thursdays. Dallas has kind of been a surprise that they're not doing that great, just because actually they're hanging in there. But I feel like Tampa Bay will probably be number one in the Discover Central still.
Yeah.
But do you still favor the Lightning to win it again?
Yeah, I do.
Because Dick Vitale's from Tampa Bay, and he loves his Tampa sports.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I think the Kings will probably they might lose to Minnesota, and then they might beat Arizona. That's what I think. But they just have to treat these games like a playoff game. You got a little dog there.
I do. Yep. He needs to go out soon.
Okay.
Body.
So with that being said, before we end, so what was your thoughts on the LA Galaxy's dramatic come-from-behind victory against Intercity Miami FC?
Yeah, I liked that was good. And, Chicharito looks better. He looks better this year. And so I think the Galaxy, things are looking up for them. And then I also watched LAFC versus Austin. And good win for LAFC there, especially because they were without Diego Rossi and Carlos Vela. By mistake, they substituted him out of the game early on, like in the 18th minute. So it's good that LAFC, they beat Austin 2-0 in Austin's first ever game in MLS. And Galaxy beat Miami. Good win for both clubs. It should be a fun rivalry again this year, I think.
It will be, but next game for LAFC, they get to play the Seattle Sounders. So was Diego Rossi hurt?
Yeah, he had a hamstring issue that they were trying to. It's not serious. They were trying to get him ready to go, but they felt it wasn't prudent to send him out there, so that he didn't go. I don't know if he'll be in the next game with the Sounders. And then Vela, he had a kind of a weird slip. He slipped out there while going for a ball, and he does have a knee history issue, but he seemed okay. But something to keep in mind. Hopefully he doesn't get injured at all. When does LAFC play Seattle? Is that Saturday?
That will be on Saturday the 24th at 3. That's on ESPN.
Okay, I'm gonna watch that one. Yeah,
and then the Galaxy play the New York Red Bulls on Sunday I think that's gonna be either. It's in LA. It's at the Dignity Health Sports Park, not in New York City.
Okay, and is LFC, are they home or away?
Galaxy are home at the Dignity Health Sports Park against the New York Red Bulls.
Right. Is LAFC home as well, or are they on the road?
LAFC is actually home. Bank of California Stadium against Seattle. So
all right.
I think and then also next week, next week, Matt and I will be doing our NFL mock drafts and talk about the Dodgers and Red series and also Padres series as well. And we'll see you next week, Matt.
Okay, Loro.